Museum for providing this brilliant and exciting playroom for all of us, and all of you for being here. And special thanks to Lindsay and Sophia and Catherine for helping us put this together, and also especially the presenters today who so generously agreed to and responded to this call for collective experimentation. So I'm just going to say something quick and brief about the notion Queenzenglish and how this came about and what we are trying to achieve today. So, and by the way, my voice is about to expire a little bit, but I'm okay. So as long as you can hear me okay, that'll be fine. So Queenzenglish, this is a collaborative project that aims to promote the polysemic, polyphonic, and polygraphic creativity and the diversity of the English language today, while also casting a critical eye on the rigid normativity and implicit coloniality of this legacy, often codified as quote-unquote Queenzenglish. And it grew out of the launch event at the Kyoo Lee Glass Center where I am also teaching, and Queen's Museum last year, 2017, under the same name except with a more normal spelling, Queenzenglish. Part of this innovative public seminar called MP3, that's Emerging Poetry, Philosophy, Performativity. It was co-funded by the Mellon Foundation and the Center for Humanities at the Graduate Center. And today we are recontextualizing the second reiteration of that Queenzenglish concept in Queen's International 2018. And by doing so, we're hoping to see it grow further and unleashing its homophonic, not phobic, potentials to a whole new level. So without further ado, we'll start the party. Now I see that some speakers now is coming in and other people are also coming in. And so each presenter has about 7 to 8 minutes, except the last group, which is the urban myth, the corona group there. So there will be no formal introduction of each speaker. We'll just keep it very casual and informal. But each speaker, before they leave the stage, they can just call in the next person. I think and the speakers know their time. And so we hope to have some time for Q&A too, if we have time, but we'll have to see how it goes. So first, our first speaker is going to be Paolo Javier. Where are you? Okay.
Thank you, Q. First letter in Queen. What's up, Queen? So I'll just start with a newish poem. Thank you, Queen's Museum. If you haven't checked out the amazing biennial, please do so. Congratulations again. A true account of talking to the seven in sunny side. Right to liquor sign past Super Laundromat and European Mediterranean Foods, which is closed for rent. Inquiries 5162488080. There is Golden Walk, then top quality cleaners. What are you doing? Oh, this bodega closed. It's now store for rent. Inquiries. Oh, we can't go to it again? No more. Used to be Korean owned and now it's just European meat market. On the cover, on the corner of 42nd. Why it's getting closed? Because it's getting closed. Because richer people have been moving here and raising rent. What does that mean? It's called gentrification. They make it hard for us to continue to live in this neighborhood. Well, what is gentrification? When people who make a greater amount of money move into your neighborhood and raise rent, they threaten to push out families who look just like us. That's so sad. Who will eat our food? It's so tasty. 2. Keep walking west till you hit 41st Street and see PS 150, which thankfully we'll avoid this fall. Why we will avoid it? Because the principal is terrible. And when principals are horrible, teachers leave. And we are always going to support teachers. Why, Baba? Because teachers are the ones who keep our cities intact. What is intact? Holding fast. Teachers keep kids out of trouble. They guide you to be a better person. Actually, your first teachers are always going to be Mama and Baba. The others, Buddha, Ama, Agong, Koko, and Koka. I love Koka. Baba, we didn't go to temple for a long, long time. I know. We will next weekend. After we attend Tita Emmy's panel at PS1 MoMA. Okay? Little steps, big steps, tiny steps. Why, the principal is terrible? Because the principal doesn't care about her teachers. She wants always to blame her teachers for every problem at her school. Precisely what most bad principals do. 3. Baba, how many days is Earth going to be alive? That is a good question. How many days is Earth going to be alive? I can tell you we've arrived on Queens Boulevard and the 41st Street bus stop of the Q32 and 60. Baba, the only thing under Earth that would be alive, volcanoes? Oh, this place closed too? And no firecracker and no shooting? Used to be a spot. Meanwhile, itong Barwir's Coffee nahati siya. Virage's marked convenience store where your Coca Marvy would hoard phone cards to call Manila, and Sunnyside Florist NY for all designs and occasions. Hanggang kailan lang kaya para sa kanila? Itong coffee shop sa kanto, once run by 4 brothers from Puebla, now a bistro called Sole Luna. Also what, Baba? Sole Luna, mahal ko. Nasa Lowry Station na tayo para kunin yung 7. 4. Baba, the time when we get home, can you please look up how many days is the Earth gonna survive? Sige, mahal ko. But only if you step away from here first and say hello. Hello, 7 train. Hello. I'll end with a 2 short poems from a book that came out a couple of years ago called Court of the Dragon. And I was practicing magic to make this book. And I really want to be lost in language. So this is from the section called Court of the Dragon. 11. Today, rise from bed without spirit, kindle your computer. Again, tears call to the door, begin to fall, bored of 20. Tired of all, go to the kitchen, find something like eating, light the TV, command change much as you change your brow. Only the kidnapped practice with all kinds of witchcraft. I'll take anything. I'll go to the salon. You are jealous. I hate. Not thinking maybe one day someone decide, arebatantalo all, but it did. Because you see, they had everything, nothing valoraste. When your kisses were not theirs, I remember it was you, not his. Today it is no longer cry, but admit yesterday I never once thought it. 12. Melody and ice, bearing volcanoes, cities, envelopes. To return English, mind, means, whose language? Immobile, Pacific, Vidriic, prenatal. Maybe I am wrong to seek out divinity. In the immediate touch like air without which I couldn't, dust to dust, or lost soul solace, pure able, inhuman friar in the Andes, Picasso, occasions. Give up pandesal, your seal of approval, or dance to it. Name my English, extinguish. Carla Harryman.
When Kyoo asked me to participate in this and also a publication related to this concept of the Queenzenglish, I had already begun something that was based on a dream called Queen and Pianos that involved a friend of mine who's a music improviser, Tanya Chen, who I often work with. And so what you're going to hear is nonsense, mostly, and based on improvisation. And someday she and I will work on this together, I think. So the dream had something to do with there being, sometimes there are pianos in airports, and seeing at some point multiple pianos in airports, and that and my friend got into my dream, and then I just took off and didn't bother with the dream that much anymore. I just let it have its effect on me. You, who will live in an image, look sideways. What happened to the indoor venue? My wishes are there. These entertain slanted, fashion a loss with art. Next, the pronouncement of word piano. Text 3 on the lawn, paid for with scarcity, prepared for anyone who knows the keys. Play them now, and then quarrelsomely. 3 at a time is best. 3 at a time voids the tune once slapped onto air. Virtuosity admonishes afar, calls to draw nearer to what you seek, and imperial being has left a cottage. Periphery is a note, never to return. She holds a cartoon mantle, strikes the note, never to return, strikes the note, a gesture ends. The hoods of instruments repeating until strange strings graze in urban farmlands. And the hands strike black keys, waver in a pond, wage earners in the round, 1 piano, 2, drowned in 3. The instruments watch with envy or panic, in arraignments, crosshairs or fire, as the queen, not a metaphor, sits on leaves in a scene never to be filled in. White teeth love a caress and a graveyard tune. Garbs drop of phrase. Pave over paradise. Will anyone arrive for a naked show? It's physical and decorative, not loss of nerves. You are forgetting where one is. Rain streaks pavement, radioed out. Warm air intensifies value of 2, drowned in 3, downed in the huddle. Men losing their curves. Queens striking a tempo sound with parody. Guess what they parody? Their keys trailing to keep sticking in it, bypassing the longer days, the new weather, the hunter under the cover of a grand scheme. Her clear night prepared for anyone. Her clear night prepared for anyone who knows those keys. A pulse flutters in still air. Thermometers spew timepieces the queen had rejected. Mitigation is on us or there is none. And none of us can be in the scene. It's radio. Out on the pavement, Con drags junctions. Con drags junctions along the grid blasted by rays or timbre. Trends lightly on tender spots. Do not tell you, I say, you call the cops. We are kissing without police on our tongues and fingers, or report, or typically, if we knew how to play, like the queen estranged in the scheme, unseen and pissed off sound she shreds, binary. She shreds binary quote. My instructions are dazzled, lower tones. A cue or an image presses the space bar stuck to lace and floral patterns. Passages paved over warps. Now wait. Beyond futures of hot scooters and cold stands, wait. Effects of uncertain climactic change, wait. Fantasies you arrange, wait. What is possible under severe constraint? 1 piano, 2 piano, 1, 3, 2, 1, beaten and stroked, touched lightly as a earlobe at an amorous moment. A key mirrors a pulse from the unseen, resonator in a finger poised to an ear at the airport. There is also a truce, waiting with the planes dormant and clouds parting over hangars, sweating in disuse. The player is not the only one who has been taken down a notch or 3, 2, or simple numbers, ease of digressions. What's next? An impulse to play a cliche in the rumble zone. Will it match the time? Can the time be a question, another question posed? I am far into clowning around. Quiet settles in the village where I know only a few people. Not everyone is thinking the same thing. Not everyone is thinking the same thing. A nation is on someone's mind. A wild dream slid off the keys. No service for a long time either. As for balance, the big virtue and balancing acts, the workloads, if they are resting, does that mean I am night? Or that they are dead and nothing else? What image does a balanced act live in under stars? I am a little wary of what daylight thinks of my questions. Twists of trees rise into ancient funnels. Pianos and bridges share a pasture. A fairy tale launches from the imperiled picture. Thanks.
Hey, Queens.
Hey.
How you doing?
Great.
So I feel very attached to Queens, literally, because I'm from the BK. We are attached. And yes, when I was a child, I did not know that. And then we're part of this mythical place called Long Island, which is like, no, Long Island, I ain't got nothing to do with no Long Island. I'm from the projects. What are you talking about?
Oh, I forgot to introduce Tracie Morris.
Thank you, Carla. Paolo, Kyoo. So I'm gonna read some poems. I'm glad to be in Queens. Y'all got space. I'm gonna read an excerpt from a poem called Boating du Tour. It's a double sestina, and it's about people who are forced to migrate over water from different nationalities. Since Queens is the borough of the world, I saw it coming in, I thought this might be appropriate. Forgive my pronunciation, Queens. I'm not saying I speak these languages well, which I don't. I'll quickly say the first one is an elite person, European American. The other one is somebody, black person that's transatlantic slave trade. The next one of Haitians relocating after the defeat of the French and the freedom of Haiti. Then Cubans in the post-Castro. And then the Vietnam, displaced Vietnamese people. So that's the 6 people I'm talking about. Boating du Tour. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. The rhyme of the ancient mariner. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Epilogue. 4 p.m. I wake up, rocking desert alone, the picnic sun. It's the starboard where I'm looking. It's a pendulum and soon I'm slumped over, dribbling a paper umbrella on navy stripes. My girl's wearing Joe St. John over her shoulder. The sails snapping as softly as a dish towel. Here comes the ship. Winking on the magnitude of 1,000-fold, the sky is a powder of a robin's egg. My ankles are crossed for luck, I realized. They're bronzed. I'm not wearing socks for a style, not to avert the spongy indentations of waterlogged feet. Intangible comforts, nothing touches me here. Under the thicket where eggs lay, they found me here. I'm in a nest, a net set adrift. The lilt of singing and misery, mystery and bronzed wood. Weeks went, we weary, no lifting latches. Feet began to curdle. Lashes bloom from navy stripes. So many of us bent like pins, never unfold. A month or who knows what day it is, they are looking to discard remains. These penguins peck robin egg blues about cataract eyes. Dam of bones over which crabs fight to nest as they sink. Dolphins avert us, failing to save the half-dead. Flippers towel semaphores. Sea maid takes us all under her shoulder. There was a mute rusty bell tolling for us. Bronze hull, dyed skin, blood, albumin, say our robin's egg shelter as moonlight conspires with dusk. A towel filters oceans, creates thirst, slakes hunger. Avert the sun's glare, some blind themselves in judgment. That lilt of dawn's fakir from those who speak of this, looking for land as sea urchins change to mammal. A fold of devotees praying in deep blue, navy stripes, our mottled dark flesh and salt water. Yet over there I see earth. We're met in waves, waving me, their hands, guns, motors say stop. We're drifting, shoulder to stern, down towards Mecca, voodoo for waiting feet. Ashamed for them, I saw the lifting of their feet. They drop in, kill, fail, leave, lift in metal, air, bronze, stars greet them. Fall from the sky, they land home, towel off napalm, bomb. Some live, some napalm, blood, some live now as we live. Avert misid, overseas Chinese, the Navy strikes indiscriminately. Kuan and kin looking close enough. Bombing every epicanthic fold, taking every variation for a lilt. All I built before the Saigon fall, just to be here with this sad rocking thing. A hooded robin's egg that's gold, handing us from the rich to poor. Shoulder French burdens of war, white, blue, and red bleed over. It's just sections of that poem. I don't know how much time I have. But since it's Queens, I felt I had to read one of my Shakespeare, just bastardizing Shakespeare poems. So in this poem, I have a conspiracy theory that I made up, is that Gertrude killed Ophelia, because how she knows so much about how she died? Like, how did she know like that much detail? I'm just like, see, the cops would come to her first. So, I did say I was from the projects, right? Okay. Her breath caught aught. Fan fiction of Gertrude and Ophelia. I had to get that man, my son out of my hair. My hair from which he came from school. He should have stayed to learn things like how to get away from it all. It was a mess when he came back. When he came, backed me into a corner, I came too with my husband. With a brother, mine on. Wish I had kids, maybe a brother. Maybe a brother would have kept him busy. A blood one. Wonder what would have happened if someone to keep his mind off things. Real blood, like fake drama. Real is too real. Kinship is rose, layer, guild, and aren't similar. Aren't similarities the same as blood is all the same as close enough to get by. Get bygones, but bygones get. Bygones come and go like blood. I bled the other kid out his head, bashed in by the canal. By the canal, I was awash in blood. Blood, other son that could have been Ton, short for town like Hamlet, came up too short, 2 days early, let him come up from the funeral, the wedding, same clothes and alone in black, his dead brother, the unknown could have saved him, sibling could have saved him, could have saved her, she became only one woman knows another that well, drowning one I know from drowning one, owning one, a single town where she drowned all out, boy, I had to prompt her now singleton, a brother, an orphan she was, without a father, that her. brotherless ham, acting out without a father without a place to go, like his father, a homeless ghost, a shell of what he was. She was a shell held floating in water, a well, a shell full of flowers. Worse, she was a vase, a sheath full of variety, plants, oh plankton, tons of plants, a plank she walked. I saw the boards they tread while playing. While playing, I wasn't well played. His tale of how the water slapped her hard like water, swatter, hard as minerals, plants, tsetse fly, a tease, disease. They ever wonder if they did, you know? She was so bereft and breathing. What if she was having a son? Sun makes flowers bloom. The stamens then say one thing, each extend lines, little lies of the dead that don't stay down. Here lies, saves from potash, swallows the body's liquidity from dried fibers, a dress swallowed whole in the water I saw when I pushed her down with her heaving and wretch of flowers, lowers the wreath, the raft I made of her air of her. And I'm going to read this last poem like even faster because I'm running out of time. It is a poem called Queens. It is a hip-hop poem. It is not based on a true story. This is literally what happened. Clicking my heels to kick it with a Swiss, almost missed my train on the IND to Howard Beach. Reaching up to the handle to help plant my feet askance in my 3-day duffel bag, reading poetry and motions, I am vertical, excerpts from Sylvia Plath. I'm laughing at myself for her wishes to be a tree, when to be not extended, hair weave, hip-hop queens speak idiosyncrasies addressed to but not at me. I hate when blunt be leaning and people be standing over me. I hate mass transit, guess I ain't meant to integrate with human beings. My smart ass automatically says, you mean as opposed to the usual cretins you'd be seen with, but I had enough to not orally say shit. Mine up bitching about my baggage as if it's obstructing the entire carriage. She and her partner pseudo-polite me to invite me to take one of the now many available seats. Looking briefly askew, I genteelly answered with a no thanks, ma'am, claiming the weight of my backpack is too much to take when I have to resume my stance upon making my break. Then a diva getting the repeated rundown asked me to move my floor-bound baggage as I am constricting her feet. I mused for a minute, confused as to whether I would opt to back down or remain where I was for a possible 2-fold beatdown. One junior in tow notwithstanding, I opt for the latter. Sister, the matter would be rectified if you could cast your pieds aside briefly. I gladly put my bag under your seat. So, wait for a reaction as she took a sip from a runner's plastic container, smelling suspiciously of Schlitz, which I didn't know would make her more want to kick my behind or hopefully slow down her reaction time. The liquor did neither. Meeting the gaze of another equal, she adjusted her torso and said, I should have told her she not a mind reader. So pushing it a bit, I just said, never said you was, cuz, excuse me, please. Pushed my bag under her body. Flipped out a slim paperback, faking it, using my periphery to watch the duffel in case boosting and jetting was their way of getting revenge on me. Turns out it wasn't. We had a mutual respect was had. So, as I saw the destined platform approaching, I parted my stuffed one again and for emphasis said, y'all take care, B-girl Queensway. They responded with a simultaneously racist, you too. You know, I felt good. Felt good that our encounter ended on a gratuitous note. Lucky for me it did, because lost in my thoughts of departure, I got my body but not my bag off at the airport stop. Tugging the handle, I'm stranded saying hello to the conductor who's come between me and my vacating Swiss clothes with one of my homegirl strangers. Helps park the doors with her gold-tip dragon lady fingers. In time for me to say thank you, grab my gear and go. That is exactly what happened on my way. And the next person is your poet laureate, Maria Lisella.
So the first pieces I'm going to read come out of one source. And I'm going to read it in English first and then in Italian because it comes from two women who are now 99 years old. Named for royalty. My mother named me Mafalda, Yolanda, Margherita, the names of all the king's daughters. I just hated it. There I was sewing buttons on cardboard squares, 40 cents for 144, named for royalty. I remember the shop I went to for my first job. It was down some steps on South Street in Jamaica. Like a dungeon, all the girls at the machines were wearing their underwear and skimpy blouses. I was so proud of my diploma, how smart I was, and all the floor man wanted was to see me in my underwear. Nome di Mure. Mia madre mi ha chiamato Mafalda Yolanda Margheriti in nome di tutti i figli del re. Lo odiavo. Ero lì a cucire i bottoni su quadratini di cartone, 40 centesimi per 144, dal nome Regale. Ricordo il negozio dove sono andata per il mio primo lavoro. Si scendevano alcuni gradini giù a South Street, Jamaica, come una sagretta. Tutti i ragazzi seduti alle macchine indossavano la loro biancheria intime e blusi femministe. Ero così orgogliosa del mio diploma e di quanto fossi intelligente, e tutto quello che gli uomini del piano volevano era vedermi in mutande. I read that because one of those women gave me this piece. Maybe 80 years later. This is called They Don't Remember When We Were. The immigrants, the sharecroppers, the unskilled laborers standing on corners waiting for the work. Maybe it was the Hell's Gate Bridge or the dangerous bowels of the subways. Sharing low-lit tenements with men piled high, swapping pillows, sheets, and beds as they returned from the morning shift, the evening shift. The stench of those men-filled quarters, no women to dress for, to clean for, to shave for. A society of men, clammy in winters, sultry in summers, saving meager wages, split with padroni and landlords before sending bits and pieces home to bring wives and children here to this foreign place, trying to remember why they left home. Was it that bad? Yes, it was. Wives don't tell the men in their letters of the famine, the deaths, a silk thread of hope spanning the Atlantic. To feel whole again, not so alone, to be human instead of imitating animals in the daily routine. Wake, work, sleep, nothing in between. No rises or falls or celebrations, or clean towels or bread on the table, set for 4, 6, or set at all. Eating while standing becomes a skill on the corners, waiting for the work. If the policeman doesn't move them to another corner, stepping into strangers' cars, a dangerous deal for a day's work. Now the men speak with accents from Mexico, Guyana, India, but they are not so different from our grandfathers and uncles, shifting from one foot to the other to keep warm, expecting a day's pay by nightfall. But who can tell? They have no choice. My mother recalls the stories of her father, brothers. She cannot understand the next generation, the nieces and nephews who don't see their ancestors' faces before them. And I'm going to take the liberty of reading a piece of, by my husband. He recently passed away, but I think he has an uncanny way with language and music. Listening to doo-wop after 170 non-stop hours of chemo. I take a sea cruise with Frankie Ford, fly to Lover's Island with the Blue Jays, motivate over the hill with Chuck Berry, walk to New Orleans with Fats Domino. I'm all dressed up in fancy clothes like the Jive Bombers. Life is but a bowl of cherries. Treasure of love is not very far. It glows like fire and shines like a star. I go to Chinatown with Ling Ting Tong singing Isamoka Mbu Dai A, Isamoka Mbu. Life is but a dream with the harp tones. Always try to give. Don't ever take it. I get down on my knees with Sonny Till and pray to the Lord, I'll make it. Thank you. And our next reader is Eileen Myles.
Hi guys. My Queen's tale is that that's my slide. Is that I moved from Boston to New York in 1974 to be a graduate student at Queen's College, and then I kind of hung out there for about 2 months, and then I thought, no, I don't think I'm going to do this, and just continued to have a life in New York for the next 40 plus years. So Queens was the lore. Got me here. So I have this new poetry book, and I have an essay at the front of it, and it starts talking about Shakers and Ann Lee, the woman who started Shakers, and it also I wrote it a couple of years ago, and it was like when Comey was testifying in Congress, so that's all going on. But I'm going to cut to the chase to the last part of it, and it does incidentally feature my own mother, who died last year, who I think is sort of the queen of my English. I met someone in Texas who had just edited a book about writers on Palestine, and we just liked each other. Rue Freeman is her name. So I'm in Boston for a month doing some residency. She asked me to come to New York and be on a panel in a bookstore about the book, even though I'm not in it. I went. I couldn't stop myself. I thought, why am I doing this? Sitting on the train crazy and tired. And I thought most of the people in the room in New York couldn't figure out why I was there. I was likening rent-stabilized apartments in New York to Palestine. And you know, it was true. I went back to Boston, and like a year later, I'm invited to Palestine. And it was amazing. It was just like my landlord. You know, much worse. The goal in Palestine is ethnic cleansing. To get Palestinians out of the Jewish state. If you go to college outside of Palestine, you can't come home. If you go to college in Palestine, you might get kidnapped. There's a glass wall on the campus in Jerusalem the Israeli army keeps knocking down just for the fuck of it. They steal computers out of the labs. I mean, these are like
Zenland, New Zenland, and over and over again. Alliance is gathering and gaining her license to make sense. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house. The table was a large one, but the three, i.e. the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, and the Dormouse, were all crowded together at one corner of it. "LaRue, LaRue!" they cried out when they saw Alice coming. "There is plenty of room," said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. So here, the six of us, total, those four plus you and me, and who else? We're talking double multiple part of a pool of infinity. An infinity table sitting at itself, doubling, multiple, coupling, tripling. The infinity of space-time is infinite elasticity into English. She means also time and poetry in Korean. Time and again, as Jacques Derrida puts it, difference differs from itself. Différence. He calls it. If philosophy, as Alain Badiou quips, is a sort of a poeticization of mathematics, which is not untrue, well, in order for that to be less untrue, there ought to be a sort of, let's say, an expressive polyphony of that philosophy. The meta-hyper-sub-philosophy of it all, namely the body that resonates. The bodhisattva under worldly poetry, who revocalizes what they have heard and transfer without monopolizing it, or monosemionizing it, whatever it is. Philopoetics is then philophonopoetics, beginning with, Not that I did not hear it before, but it is still as if I were hearing it holding itself the first time. It's like a Tracie Morris saying, listening to Jail Austen, who this? Who's this? It's like when Queenzenglish is sung, you hear three different spellings, or hear yourself seeing it written in triple tones. The Queenzenglish, Queenzenglish, Queenzenglish. Sun Kingdom, a borough of New York City, a sort of nano Zen context zone, all coming together apart along the lines, some elsewhere, every now and then, across the semio-idiotic borders to make sense, a sense of kaleidoscopic nearness and dearness in transit. It's like not just asking how howling is also part of speaking, as it is about taking howling dialects as an answer, an ongoing response to the dialectics of how. Yes, indeed, how the madness of my generation could be modulated by the best minds. Associate freely, dissociate freely, be free from the ideal of freedom, be translingual. Associate anew every day and stir your cheese sauce to keep it consistent. If you can take refugee in the Buddha, you can take refugees too. Remember, plenty of room already in your membership. Oh dear, I'm not doing very well at this game. What will the Queen think? Alice says. Ali was right to worry. Most of the other players had made the Queen very angry for one reason or another, and the soldiers took them away one by one. Soon there were only the Queen, and Alice left in the game. The Queen turned to Alice. You, come here. Who are you talking to? If you please, Majesty. The trial is starting. The trial? Oh, good. I love trials. Come along, says Queen. Where is the Queen off to? Why is she not amused? Because, remember, her ears are boxed. Poetry is what a poet is trying. Poetry gets on trial without even trying. Try some for yourself, why not? Not against the terror of error, but in front of the mirror of a runner. Of semi-phony, truthy poetry today. Polyphony you say, and polysemy you deny. Take away poly from polyphony, and take away poly from polysemy as you make your way. Yes, both, honey bunny, and you get to stay with the phony and semi anyway, and no other way. Yes, exactly. The one and only phony and semi. Did you semi hear me say phony? Yes. Semi-phony, i.e. not really phony, but truthy pointy. Yes, say truthy, pointy truthy. Truthy, that means phony semiology. Yes. Why not? Why going back to that thingy suddenly did you say go back to your country? We heard you say, but honey, that phony semiology is not even some moldy unity you think is your bloody identity. Dainty boxy I phony unity. So when did you phony, honey? Let horny bunny just make poly sense of herself in the sprawl of queer censorship with S, in the suburbia of Queenglish, the queer world of subverbiage, as some Alice submersed into the pool of tears, saying it in good English, saying it like a good English, saying it in that marvelous, uncensored, memorable English shit. Oh dear, how queer everything is today, unquote. Thank you.
The art of the kind soul. has no time. We have no time. No time to forgive the rapist cop. This room of supper and joy, old as future promise, okay as intelligent consideration, safety, mercy, sweet DNA, happiness, always, never always, the semantics of innocence, what a great clatter it was. The figures figuring out how many light bulbs can drop and shatter. Light before I met you, I was in the garden in disguise. New glasses come off, and so do new shorts. This is the time, I think, of being snuck into your office. The quickness, the affability, the pleasure, the understanding, the camaraderie, the patience, the throb of noonday radiance and obsession. Inspired by blank mind, blue egg, refuge, salvation in all colors, black, rain and hazes of being peace, skin tone, the color of something we realize we've no word for. Insolence as performance device. The show will go on. CBGB waitress throws my 50 cents back at me. Beer bottle flies by my head as I head to Refusnik lifestyle. Ego and legacy are silly today. You went without saying. Answer this bird sound. I'm reading everything about you. I threw stolen motel Bibles out the window of our van to fuck with the opening band trolling behind us in a station wagon, and they began to goof, swerving, nearly colliding in head-on traffic, and we wise up, slow down. Tasty freeze worth pulling over for the allure of who you may meet, or who may be behind the counter, chocolate, caramel, banana, cream, soda, hitchhiker. Mainstream fat gurgle, vocoder, waist superstar like Lost Boy under covers, his blanket a tent with dream fume. We take the basement amps, black, true. Dads rebel against historical Vatican value. Strip search the hovering deity. Clouds smile and cry as always. Dads walk, and return in silence. The corn husk meringue is like eating an albino word balloon. Am I right, or am I right? My vote is not getting in here. Light dissolves your force. We love the trans. All stand, reach, new kids, finger-used LPs, blue eyes, black skins, white hearts, bleed slow and safe, porous genius. Magic act always coming up. Free frost flits like saint hair, purses snatched by lips soiled. I lick your itch, okay, wonderful meeting. Whip it on me, gold boy. First thought is predestined desire. You know, nothing was. Sun always speaking. Last time we ran into each other's vision, it was hardly time or chance to offer the sweet brush. Cherish the sonata, pogo for your country. Gotta find my dragons and bounce. Fascism is a catastrophe. Each action discomfits family. Love mind transforms, defeats fascist control tower. Brave love we sail in heaven to the away game. The slightest message can clear the soul in clouds, sick for beauty. Before we can even get near being drunk and distemperate, we become bored and excellent. And off we go in imperious lucidity, but not always. Bad is not an animal word. It is an ego drive, stinking, slam shut, putrid curtain, rank with candy gunk, picket sign tattoos, rock star versus rock star. The Freedom March, the lifer. Thank you for this food. Thank you for this air travel. Thank you for this seat. Thank you for this wind. Thank you for this land. Thank you for this freeze. Thank you for this fire. Thank you for this hammer. Thank you for this jacket. Thank you for this paper. Thank you for this cane. Thank you for this radio. Thank you for this wand. Thank you for this game. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this rocket. Thank you for this wheel. The teacher's teacher's teacher states the obvious like a raccoon. Coming up now, the urban Mythfits.
Hamayo, 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 Sinua, 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 Sud Yeong, Sud Yeong, Sud, Sinua, Sinua, yeah, yeah. Yo, 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 Sinua, 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 yeah. Laissez, yeah, 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 laissez, mouth, teeth, teeth, tongue, tongue, lick, lick, mouth, teeth, teeth, tongue, tongue, lick, lick, mouth, teeth, teeth, tongue, tongue, lick, lick, mouth, teeth, teeth, tongue, tongue, lick, lick. Prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase. No phrase. Phrase. Prepositional phrase. Definite. Definite. Article. Indefinite. No. Definite. 朋友，先生話我錯，朋友，先生話我錯，朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。
They said too much talking.
But you told me to speak. 先生話我錯。But you told me to speak.
Then they told me I have ADD.
But I didn't think it.
ADHD.
But I didn't think it.
Dyslexia.
I did think it.
Then they locked me in rooms with ghosts that whispered, maybe PTSD. Then I tore up all the white linens, white bed sheets, broke all the white china and the white bed frame. Took a breath, then screamed amidst the wreckage, Mother Mary, Black Madonna. Then I stopped speaking altogether.
I don't feel nothing at all. I don't feel nothing at all. I don't feel nothing at all.朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。朋友，先生話我錯。雪用陳冠耀話：邊掛住你？先話先話先話，先話先話先話，先話先話先話，先話先話先話。 Oh, I forget everything. Stupid child. I forget everything. Stupid child. Stupid child. I forget everything. Stupid child. Everything. Stupid child. Stupid child. You forget everything. You forget everything. Stupid child. Stupid child. Stupid child. Stupid child. I forget everything. I forget. You forget everything. Stupid child. Stupid child. Stupid, stupid child. You forget everything. You forget everything. You forget everything. Stupid child. Stupid child. You forget everything. You forget everything. Stupid child. Stupid child.
For a question and answer. Can I invite all the speakers to come up here and so that people can ask any questions or comments? Just informal, nothing serious, but I thought it might be good to grab the talk a little bit. And the staff will help kind of get the conversation going a little bit, so the microphone will be circulated. Have a seat here for a while, quickly. Anybody wants to ask any questions or comments? Do you have a question? Okay, hi, good to see you again here. Great. How are you doing? Good.
Hi everyone, I'm Cherise. I actually have two questions. One is, thank you first of all to all the poets and performers. This was great. I just wanted to know your ideas on the importance of sound as an expanded sense of meaning beyond just the imposed meanings like dictionary meanings. And number two, if a poet is interested in collaborating with Queenzenglish, how can we find out more information?
Great. I guess the first question, anybody wants to answer that question? The sound and the being, the expanded notion of this phonic composition or the phonic ontology, if you like, and so, I mean, many of us here today, we're really also doing kind of sound poetry kind of aspect to that. And obviously, you were really, I was quite struck by the kind of the performance of the body, the mouth and the leg, and the whole body was vibrant, right, with this question. So, if I may, maybe I can just have you respond to that question, and if anybody else wants to talk, then we can.
So, as for the sound is everything to us. Long story short, the way I use sound, the way that I use sound is I grew up knowing very physically in a non-Christian world. And so in all my music, in all the vocalizations, what is most important to me is to try to talk to the pre-Christian world. And that takes a lot of screaming, because the Christian world is very loud. It's very loud. And so, from pounding the earth to waking the old gods up, to just primate, calling. I want the woods to call back.
Yes, I have a thought or two. I think the idea that sound is like some sort of after effect of what words really do is a very new concept. The other stuff, the sound being connected to the body and like the origins of language being poetic, is much older than like the new thing of it being written on the page. That's fairly new. So we have this phrase in poetry, onomatopoetics, which is the thing sounds like what it is. And I don't think that that's just like for words like bam and pow and whoopee and I think it's also as in everybody's spiritual system, or even just exclamation of the extraordinary is everything that's embedded in that is beyond human. It's just in that one sound. But that's like the origins for language for me. Poetry doesn't come after language. Poetry precedes and is a part of language. And Heidegger had a lot of problems, mainly being a fascist. But he was on to something when he talked about that. Personally, I think his mind was blown, and that's why he retreated back into hatred, because the idea of the universe being that vast kind of freaked him out. That's my theory on that guy anyway. But just to say, we're not separated from sounds, and words are not separated from sounds. Everything is new. Everything that the ancients knew that. People feel that. They know it now. The other stuff is the false,
In the interest of time, I will just going to respond to the second question. I will also have another set of questions. I'm very lucky for me to be able to also collaborate with many of the colleagues here on this Queenzenglish. And so if you're interested in, any of you interested in exploring some ideas with me, I'd be very interested also to see what the next steps will be. In fact, I have just finished editing the volume called the Queenzenglish, and so that's with the first step to try and kind of explore this idea in more visible ways. And so next year I'm thinking about taking it to, say, other cities, so in London or Tokyo or also other boroughs in New York. So this will grow as a poetry. It's going to grow in other ways. And so I welcome any suggestions. My name is Kyoo Lee again, and so if you look at the program, you can just look for me online, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. Maybe a couple of questions from the audience, and we will put this all together and then respond. Because we don't have much time. We have a next program at 5 o'clock. Right. So, yeah, go.
right over here. Come and sit.
I missed something.
Yeah, you missed it. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to ask these guys, Urban Mythfits, what your origins are. Are you're Queens, obviously? No. Oh, okay. But I would like to know, like, how you guys kind of got together and sort of composed your ideas together as a group. I'm really interested in groups, how they work, like the sonic democracy of a group. So it begins with you. Okay. Well, good. That's my question.
We all came together because of Professor Patricia Clough, who's not here today. She brought us all together, and little by little, we all had something in common. We all love art. We do art in different forms, but we also like feeling and we like experimenting. So we like to be uncomfortable. So if there's new concepts that we might be experimenting in our life or thinking about in our life, we bring it to the table, and that's kind of like how we bring our ideas together. I was born in Queens. Omar was born also in Queens, Elijah as well, and then Forest Hills, borderline Queens, right? So we were kind of like the first ones to kind of come together, but we started as a group to do ethnography here in Queens. I grew up in Corona, so that's also where Patricia Clough grew up. So I met her when asking her, she was my professor in undergrad, and I asked her to help me put together an ethnography, and she was like, I grew up in Corona too, and she was also on her way to write a book, and Yeong was also with her, recording, walking with her in Corona, visiting her old apartment where she grew up, and we kind of went with her on that journey and also passed by my childhood home, and we reminisced on ideas that we weren't really thinking about at that time. Like, I wasn't really thinking about how I grew up or what Queens meant to me until I moved out of Queens, and I looked back and I'm like, wow, Queens is special. And I'm in Brooklyn now, and I love Brooklyn, but there's a part of me that will always be Queens because this is my roots. So in terms of like sound and ideas and artistry, Patricia told Elijah one day, can you sing? And he started singing, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, Yeong has been a multimedia artist, right? Like she's done like sounds and recordings and stuff like that for us. And Matt came through Elijah as a friend. I brought my husband, Jansiel, onto the group, and Matt could dance, I could dance, and we're like, can we put something together? And we were just experimenting together, but we allowed it to come naturally. We weren't forcing each other. We said, like, what do you feel like you can contribute to it? Like, what do you think that we should take this project to? So that's kind of how it came about.
Oh, thank you. How did you? I'm sorry, I don't mean to hog the microphone. Q, how did you?
I'm a very good friend with Patricia.
Oh, I see.
So I've been following. I've been following their performances for quite a long time, and I've been partying with them, and so I really knew their work, and so we had this idea of last year we did the premiere, right? And so we launched, and we're doing this together again, and I really wanted to make sure that we just do this finale with the Mythfits group, and also celebrating the kind of if I may use that kind of again the paradigm, like a sort of translocal, right? So going translingual and going translocal, right? So really not so much local as we say, but like really the locality, right? In transit, but also in context. So I'm very glad to see also kind of this reiteration of what you did last time, but also a deeper affective dimension. I think is also the space is different, right? And so really,
that's something I wanted to add. That because a lot of us have studied. Two of us are completing PhDs, and that has come out of working with Patricia Clough. And I'm specifically working on a PhD in sociology, and Yeong is looking at performance work coming out of Korean studies. And something that we've been interested in for the last couple of years, working under Patricia Clough, is looking at affect, but also Allah Foucault were also very much interested in studying the body as a subject of power. And to answer the original question, something else I wanted to add on top of Elizabeth is that a lot of us came together as individual bodies that were subjected to a lot of violence growing up, not just in Queens, but in trans-local spaces, as a lot of us went back and forth and oscillated between the homeland of the U.S., but also Latin America and Asia, and looking at transgenerational haunting and certain kinds of ghosts that surround our specific individual histories, but also our family histories. So always very much being interested in studying affect, looking at the body, but also looking at language and the articulation of that violence, both at the micro level, but also at the macro level.
Can I just say, I think how we survived as a group, because we've been doing this for 9 years, is that we don't do specialized knowledge. A lot of us have academic backgrounds, and that was awesome. It gave us a lot of special literacies. As you know right there, she's my professor from Sarah Lawrence. I went to Sarah Lawrence, motherfuckers. Like, I went from public school to Sarah Lawrence. What? But the funny thing, we survived as a group because this is our third, fourth piece. Every time we get together to do work, it's not like, oh, let's look at the welfare state from the early 40s in the Midwest, right? It's literally just our interior health, our emotional health, our mental health, our physical health is absolutely grounded in what the fuck is happening in the States, what's happening in the city, what's happening in the hood, what laws are getting reformed, what laws are coming back, because it affects our parents, it affects everything, right? And so every time we get back together, we just look at each other's chinks and scar tissues and go, how did you get that from the last time we saw each other? Let me tell you the story. And so every time we do a piece, it's about things that literally democratize this earth as a biosphere, losing people, whether it's suddenly or, God forbid, slowly. And so every time we link together, our pieces are incredibly cathartic to all of us. And it's fucking amazing to see a kind of like a similar kind of response in every audience. Anyone who just is here to see this, right? And so I think that's what makes us survive, is because it's the only labor that's involved is literally getting together, scheduling. The feeling, we do so much R&D in what the fuck it is that we're feeling and where it could possibly, what direction it's coming from. Whether it's patriarchy or whether it's fucking double speak, triple speak, or whether it's just like insincerity usually is the biggest fucking, is the biggest predator to our well-being. The insincerity of just day-to-day life. Right? The thoughts and prayers that go directionlessly to some kind of a one God. Anyways, so I think that's what helps us survive, is that we are not specialized knowledge. And so we drop the if not, if we're honest.
So, do we have a bit of more time? On that note, on the resilient survival of sonic democracy, I think also it's quite appropriate that the phrase coming from you, all about sonic. And so it's wonderful to have you back in the space. And thank you everybody for being, and thank you Lindsay particularly for making all this happen for us. And so thank you so much, and we'll have a more conversation.